Q4 is coming to an end, and I'm sure your team is already worrying about next year's tech stack. If you work with heavy applications such as Habit or AutoCAD for 3D modeling, you might want to take a look into vGPUs to boost that computer performance. I'm Julia Araújo, Content Marketing Manager here at B2 Cloud, and today I'll be joined by Dejan Velkov, our Head of Infrastructure here at B2, to talk a little bit more about GPU-powered virtual desktops and how they are already changing the game for technical teams out there. Stay tuned.
Introduce myself. I'm DJ, short from Dejan. I'm head of the infrastructure department in V2 Cloud, and mainly working on backend infrastructure. That means all the hardware that supports our product. So I don't want to go technical too much, but it's server nodes that we are setting up our product, the VDIs, and one of the products is the GPU offering. So GPU offering is basically like every other virtualized platform with additional of the dedicated GPU card. Dedicated GPU card means allocated GPU resources on the VDIs or VMs. And the use case of the GPU is, as you know, when somebody mentions GPU, it's more connected with graphic design, with gaming, with high resource allocation that some application needs. So mostly it's, as I said, it's rendering images and video. So far that was the case, but now as we are moving forward, the GPU cards in the last decade, they started to be used with the AI models. So because with them you can train and run your AI model much faster.
Well, thank you for joining us today. And just to dive a little bit deeper in your explanation of GPU, how would you say that so what specifically does GPU do that a CPU-only enablement VM cannot handle on its own?
For example, the rendering, the CPU has limitations. I want to simplify to make it more non-techy. So the CPU has limitation of the processes that it's running it, and usually they are connected with the visualization, with the, how can I say, the visualization to run everything smooth. Even every CPU has a part of GPU utilization, but that's minimal because the main use is processing information. As you know, even the CPU without graphic enhancements needs to have some type of processing of the video, because at the end of the day, the output should be on the monitor, right? That's why GPU comes in play, because the GPU can process the rendering and the visuals very fast. And it can, how can I say, it can make run smoothly, because as you know, I started with the, how can I say, I'm older, so in the 90s in the 90s when GPUs first came out, they came out because of that visualization and video enhancement, because the CPU was not by itself able to keep up with the performance, and therefore GPU cards were, how can I say, invented, right? For dedicated video workload and rendering processes.
Okay, so talking a little bit about strategy. So we know that the traditional way of using GPU was to buy a high-end workstation, and either it already had GPU in it or you install it separately after. So what do you say are the main technical differences when we compare a GPU workstation to a cloud GPU desktop? So what do you say are the pros and cons in these different ways of using and accessing GPU?
So first of all, there are multiple differences, but I will keep focus on the main ones. So first of all is the cost, because if you buy it once and you're running it as you go. But there are multiple factors here that involve is the maintenance. So the maintenance is getting harder and harder as the hardware or your physical GPU server is running. It has to have the end of life schedule, and that's a cost that it's always growing. Regarding the virtualized GPU, you pay as you go. That's one of the things. For scalability also, if you want to upgrade your dedicated server and on-premise GPU, you need to add more hardware, remove hardware. So versus our product where you can just simply scale up and down per projects, how can I say, per usage. Also, setup times. In V2 Cloud, you can get a GPU within 15 minutes and start testing, create a POC. Regarding to scope, to buy an on-premise server where you have to include the pricing, the cost, uh, to get the hardware delivered and set it up. Another thing is the mobility and security.
Mhm.
On-premise GPU, of course, that GPU it's running in the office. Now there's a mitigation where you can set up a site-to-site VPN, but also that touches the security point, where in V2 Cloud you have multiple authentications, SSO logins, so everything is set. And one of the key things that needs to be think when you proceed with this type of project, moving from on-premise to virtualized, is the performance. So when performance is low, there's local latency, but one of the key factors that you need to calculate is your internet dependent latency that you have. So you must be how can I say, high bandwidth connections with all devices. And one of the biggest thing is reliability, because if you have an on-premise GPU server node or server, it doesn't have to be a node. You'll have to have a failover. So that means a redundant and secondary. Here, in our case, we take care of the redundancy. If there's any hardware issues on the server node, we simply just inform the client, we schedule a maintenance, and we move to the client within 30 minutes or hour to a new server node. So the how can I say? So the mitigation is pretty fast.
You mentioned that scalability is one of the major benefits, right, of moving to the cloud in this case. Can you dive a little bit deeper into how quickly and how easily is it to scale the GPU computing resources in the vGPU setup compared to the on-premises infrastructure? So if a customer were to come today and ask us for a GPU, how easily and quickly can we put it together for them?
So we have the resources on stack. Usually it's within minutes. As I said, spinning up a virtual machine with GPU, dedicated GPU, it's taking about 15 minutes to set up the template on the dedicated server node where it needs to be allocated. Compared to the on-premise, where Unfortunately, I was in that spot on my previous job, so it took like a month to set up everything and to do the verification, compatibility checks, testing, so
Mhm.
everything can be processed without any issues. And
Mm.
here it's, as I said, it's within minutes, and mostly it's just transferring the data of the VM. So that's about it.
Got it. One of the trade-offs that you mentioned is related to connectivity and latency, right? And we know that that can affect speed potentially for the customer depending on their internet bandwidth and all of that. How would you say a customer can work around that? So, what would be some workarounds to deal with the trade-off of latency in virtualized GPU environments?
So the trade-off is the optimization. First of all, uh, the location. It's all about location, where the setup of the GPU is comparing with the persons or the customers that they're using it. So one of the key things is their network performance that they need to have, but also there are workarounds because not always everything is perfect. So it's optimizing the profiles and policies uh, regarding the visualization tools that they use. So uh, uh, in short, you can optimize the applications and also optimize the connection. That's the trade-off, and this is one of the, how can I say, one of the key things moving forward for to reconsider.
Got it. Got it. Um, okay, so talking a little bit more about setting up a vGPU environment. We know for a fact that one of the most common questions that we get, and I think that all customers and users have in mind when thinking about getting a vGPU environment, is how much VRAM do they need? So how would you break it down for them? How do you think, what perhaps characteristics or criteria do a company have to consider when thinking about how much VRAM they need to get to run so that the GPU and their VM run smoothly?
So usually all the GPU applications and in general application, they have a hardware GPU requirements. So it can be optimal, it can be high. So it's all about scoping the application, right?
Mhm.
It's not like we have cases that our clients are using minimum resources, recommended, not even recommended. This is one of the key things that the customers need to consider when they're scoping. It's not just for one application, because at the end of the day, it's a desktop as a service, and the employees can run multiple tasks and they can utilize the GPU in multiple ways.
Mhm.
So usually that's why we offer our clients POC to scope the workload of their employees, right? And that's the best way to set up the framework, the frame for how much resources they need to be allocated.
Mhm.
And we start with the, how can, I can say, the baseline, and with that baseline, as you know, it's easy for us to scale up or scale down with resources. So that's the starting point. The
Yeah.
the the critical thing is the POC, right? If the POC is properly done, then they should they the customer should not have any issues in the future.
And during the POC, what are a few perhaps metrics that you analyze? So you mentioned the type of application they use and how many applications they use. Is there anything else that you'd like to, keep an eye on during the POC so you can then tell the customer, hey, this is the amount of resources that you need for your GPU to run smoothly?
Yes, the POC is all about the performance.
Mm.
So how it's utilized, how the CPU, the GPU, the RAM is utilized. And one of the key things also, this is also can be this is already set in V2 Cloud Care. So they have the metrics there. Even the clients can see them, right? Usually there's a collaboration regarding the optimization. As always, as I said, the optimization regarding the bandwidth and the application optimization, because some application require modification for RDP enablement.
Mm. Since you mentioned applications, we also know that there are a few software that require a GPU to be present, but they do not necessarily demand the processing power of a GPU. In that type of setting, how do you think would be the best instance alternative for a customer that needs a GPU to be present, but not necessarily to use its processing power for the software that they use?
Yes, for 3D rendering, as how can I say, we have clients that have legacy software that is older. So we recommend, and also they are using it. We have a client that he's with us for 6 years now. He is using minimum GPU allocation. So for example, 2 GB. So the minimum as we can provide. So that's how we solve the problem with the just presence, how can I say, right? Just GPU presence for application enablement. So we can provide a minimum GPU allocation to those clients, and as you know, it's the most cost effective for them.
And talking a little bit about the end users, are there any metrics that we monitor or that the customer can also monitor to make sure that the performance is at the level that is expected and the end users are happy and being able to use their computers to the best performance, to the best of their use?
Yes. So in essence, we are sharing the key points of the performance wise for the VM, right? Even if the clients can see that in the V2 Cloud Care platform for managing and using resources. And again, we have alert notification system that when something is overused or it's at the end of the resources, we are informing the client, and they are informed, and they can react and they can reach us.
Got it. Yeah, from everything that you've mentioned, it seems kind of like a heavy duty environment to manage. So what would you say that are some key challenges for infrastructure management when it comes to a GPU enhanced environment compared to managing CPU only VMs?
One of the key factors, key differences, it's the managing the currently is only managing the GPU drivers. Because as we know, when updates are happening, sometimes can break the performance or even break the VM. This is one of the things that my department now is striving to automate, to verify everything. And as you know, in the IT world, updates are not always great. Not just for GPU, for everything. So this is one of the key challenges that we are focusing and managing with releasing new updates and trying to not break the environment that is created.
Got it. And if we're talking about, so we are lucky that we have a pretty comprehensive infrastructure team taking care of it here. But if we're talking about a customer that has a streamlined IT team and perhaps even only one IT manager that will be managing a GPU solo, what advice would you give to them? So what is the, priority or best practice that an IT manager perhaps managing a GPU environment solo could take from you?
Uh, the IT manager, just to include the, how can I say, the proper POC, of course, and
Mhm.
it's all about latency and optimization. That's the two key words: optimization, RDP optimization, enablement and optimization for RDP, and bandwidth network latency. That's the two key things that are, how can I say, the biggest factors when someone is doing transition from on-premise to 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 virtualized platform.
Got it. Got it. Well, I think those are the questions on my side. Is there anything you'd like to add to the conversation that perhaps can help anyone that is thinking about migrating into vGPUs in the near future?
No, no, that's it. So if you
Okay.
have more questions, you can ask me, right?
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And we hope with your help, we were able to give a clear picture into the power of GPU powered cloud desktops. Thank you, DJ.
Cool. Thank you, Julia, and yeah, happy Friday. And if you need me, you know where to find me.
Yeah.